So, like I said, Dream Wise, my husband, my life partner of 9 years now, reminded me of my abandonment wounds from my father when he basically told me he is not saving me from a rat, from a rodent, or any type of creature that is in that family. Hell, baby, it could be a squirrel, and Dreamwise is probably not going to save your girl from that. But any other human being, okay, watch out because Dreamwise don't play. Okay, he's not playing with the human beings, but the rats and rodents, he can't do it. All right, he can't do it. I'm gonna have to fend for myself. Thank you all for being patient with me as we get this live stream going. Listen, when Dream and I first got together, that's when I had really realized that I had some daddy issues, right? That's when I first realized I had some daddy issues. I didn't really know until my relationship kind of got serious. So it is my hope today that what I give you, right? And this is for men and women. Women are not the only ones with father wounds, right? And if I'm being all the way real, this is not just about father wounds, but this is about parental wounds. This is about what your parents did or did not do. And women are not the only ones who struggle with dating and with relationships because of their father. There are men who struggle in relationships with women based off of what their mother did or did not do, or what their father did or did not do. So we are going to get into that, right? We are going to get into that. But yeah, at the beginning of our relationship, I did not know that I had some heavy father wounds, right? Surrounding abandonment, surrounding rejection, honey. It was totally unbeknownst to me until Dream and I started to get a little bit serious. And still until I started to be like, okay, I could really see my life with him, you know? And so, fortunately for y'all, you are already on this spiritual path. You're already on the healing path, right? So, you understand that there are some wounds, there are some traumas, there are some things that you've been through that affect how you show up in relationships. Let me spray some of this Ganesha spray, child, because, honey, the rodent in the roof, it had us anxious all morning, and I got to clear that energy. And then I'm going to rub on some of my serenity oil so that I can breathe in that beautiful aroma of peace. Ah, so lovely, right? So lovely. But yeah, the rodent in the roof was it had us anxious all morning. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to have y'all here. Okay. So when Dream and I first got together, y'all, he was, a knight in shining armor, so to speak, because he was just so present with me. He was so present. And when I say that, I'm not talking about he was blowing up my phone or anything like that, because we're going to talk about that today too. But when we were together, he was attentive. He paid attention to things I would say. You know what I mean? He was just there in a very sacred way, right? To where I felt like, when it come down to my father, I always felt like I was fighting for his attention, right? Obviously, because I have siblings, so we always had to share, our father's energy and attention. But also with my father, because he's so young and he's so vibrant and he's so lively and he's still like that now, right? So when I was younger, I was like wanting more of my father, wanting him to pay attention to me. And he wasn't really given that because he was so caught up in his own world. So when Dream and I got together, literally we would sit in his living room, no TV on, right? And we would just talk. And we were so into each other. And I realized that I had a father wound surrounding that energy, y'all, because literally I would feel like this is too good to be true. Like this guy, he must be playing games. He must be like, he can't be real with how present he is with me, right? I didn't believe it. And a part of why I didn't believe it was because, in the past, I had situationships and relationships where a guy would act like he was all into me, But honey, at the drop of a dime, the energy would shift and it would be something different. And like I said, I didn't really realize that I had some healing that needed to be done until Dream and I started to get serious. And, the shadow stuff started showing up. And I was like, oh, okay, there's real work to be done. But I will tell you some lessons that I learned. That's what I'm going to share with y'all today. This is for men and for women. Because at the end of the day, Dream and I had to date. We were going out. He was courting me essentially. Those wounds were still there, even though they weren't so present, even though they weren't so obvious, right? Even though some of them were obvious to Dream. I remember one time we went out. We went out somewhere to some sort of day club where it really wasn't like clubbing environment, but it was like good music, drinks, you're sitting down, you're hanging out. And I remember him just telling me that I was naive, right? Because a part of my father wound, y'all, was thinking that men did not have like this ulterior motive, right? Like thinking that we could just be friends and everything would be all good. Hell no. Dreamwise was like, that is naivety, sis. It's not happening, friend, right? If this man is all up in your face and he's giving you all of this energy, all of this attention, more than likely he wants something, okay? More than likely he has a goal at hand, okay? Which was true. And whatever goal Dreamwise had in his mind, honey, I must have been feeling the same way. We both had the same goal with each other, and look where we are now 9 years later. So I want you to know that there is no such thing as being 100% healed, right? A lot of times people are like, you know what? I'm not going to get into a relationship because I'm still healing. Great, right? If you're fresh out of a relationship or a situationship, you need time to reflect. You need time to think about how you showed up in relationships, where your mind was at, where your heart was at. You need time to do that. But a lot of people are not getting into relationships because they're just afraid. They're afraid of what the relationship is going to bring out of them. They're afraid that they are not prepared to be the partner that they need to be in order to have a lasting union. And what I want you to know, family, is that being in a relationship is required for you to know what you need to work on. The key is being in a relationship with a person who understands unconditional love, who understands healing, the process of it, who understands that it takes time, and who knows and feels that you are worthy and you are valuable enough to them that they are willing to go through this process with you. So you'll never just be, I'm perfectly ready to be a wife. I'm perfectly ready to be a husband. Because when you get in that union, some things are going to happen, because that's what life does. Life is going to activate things inside of you that need to be transformed. There is no such thing as being fully healed while you are in this human body. Okay? You may be going through life like, oh yeah, I healed my abandonment wounds. I healed my rejection wounds. And then let's say there's a job opportunity that shows up. And I've literally seen this before, where I've had clients, right, that may have experienced, I had a specific client that had experienced abandonment and rejection in her childhood. And a job opportunity for promotion at her job has showed up. And, and for some reason, she wasn't being vocal about wanting that job. Like she had literally told herself, right? She had literally told herself, I don't really want the job, or it's not that big of a deal. Like if they give it to me, they give it to me, but I'm not really concerned with it. It is what it is. But that was a father wound or rejection wound or parental wound showing up in that moment. That's what that was. Because who doesn't want promotion? Who doesn't want to be to rise up? Who doesn't want to make more money, right? Who doesn't want to go to that next level? You want that. But if you don't allow yourself, the specific client, what I was speaking to her about, if you don't allow yourself to express interest in it and to actually go for it, apply for the promotion, Why? Like, what is that really about? And she couldn't give me no real reason. And what we ended up getting to the conclusion of, she was afraid of being rejected. She was afraid of not getting the position, of it not working out in her favor, right? So it was better for her to just be quiet, not express what she wanted or what she desired, because that kept her in this space of safety. And that's what these parental wounds will do. And that's why there's no such thing as ever being completely healed or completely ready to be in love or to be in a relationship, because certain things will happen that will remind you of a past experience. So there's levels to the healing, right? Let me tell you what I mean. I remember when I first realized that I had an abandonment wound from my father, the first level of the healing was not crying about it, right? Like being able to say, yeah, my father chose to live a fast life. Like he chose to be a single man, like he didn't have no kids, okay? He chose to go out and live his fun life rather than, taking care of me. And funny enough, he knew, and he still knows to this day, that I absolutely adore him. And my mother knew this as well. And so when I was a kid, my mother was like, uh, your daughter can just live with you half part-time, right? We can co-parent this thing, we can have joint custody. You can keep her, for a week, and then I get her on the weekend, and then I keep her for a week, and then you get on the weekend. We could do like that. My daddy declined. Okay. My daddy was like, nah, I'm not ready for that consistency. I'm not ready to have her with me every day of the week. But that's what I wanted as a kid. So the first level of healing was, okay, I can at least talk about it without crying. That was the first level. The second level to this healing was, okay, I can be in a relationship or have a connection and not be like needy, or not be clingy, or not feel like when this person that I'm connecting with, which I'll share a story with y'all with Dream, that happened with Dream and I, but without feeling like if they leave, they're not going to come back, right? That was another layer of healing. And then the third layer of healing, this one abandonment wound, was feeling like I'm safe by myself. Like I love, like if I had to be by myself for whatever crazy reason, I have developed so much love, care, and security within myself that I could do it, right? I wouldn't just be like, oh, I can't do this. I need a person in my life, right? So there's layers and there's levels to the healing. And when you understand and you embrace that, this is what supports you in saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to explore these connections. I know my father did this, my mother did this, and it made me this type of person. But I know that I'm always a work in progress. I know that I'm always growing, and there's always opportunities for healing. Okay? Understand that. So I want y'all to know, first and foremost, you can date while you are in the healing process. You don't have to decide that you're just going to be a shell of yourself and you're just going to be alone and all of that. Because guess what? When you get in that relationship, when you get in that situation or whatever it may be, that person is still going to trigger you. Just because that's the nature of relationships. Now, the gift is that the gift of your singleness, the gift of you spending time with yourself, is that you better know how to respond to the trigger. It doesn't mean that the trigger is going to go away. The trigger is not going to go away. Dream and I have been together for 9 years. We've been together in past lifetimes, and there are still things that he does that will have smoke coming out of my ears. But my healing and my maturity comes from, I don't have to project onto him. I don't have to be angry with him. I can self-reflect and say, okay, he's reminding me of a past situation. How do I want to deal with this now? How can I deal with this in a way that doesn't escalate the situation and make things worse? That's real healing. Okay. So you want to understand that. Being in a relationship is going to be your mirror for healing. Okay. Being in a relationship is going to be the reflection that you need to see what is healed and what is not. Okay. One of the things that I had to work on, right? I told y'all this before. My mother did not know how to tell me that I was beautiful. She didn't know how because she didn't receive it. I know she didn't receive it. How do I know? Because I know her mama, right? So she didn't really know how to tell me I was beautiful. And this created a wound of insecurity, right? Where I just didn't feel like that girl. And now you can't tell me shit, right? It's been a few years of me just knowing, like I was and am divinely and uniquely made. But before I did the work, I used to walk into a room and be like, don't look at me, please, right? And I wouldn't do that literally, but that would be the energy that I was radiating outward. But before I got with Dream, I worked on that. I said, girl, you the baddest thing walking. It don't matter what nobody says. It doesn't matter what the standard of beauty is. You have to find yourself as beautiful. You have to define yourself as gorgeous. You have to know that you are worthy, that you are this and that you are that. Okay. And when I did that, Dream Wise reflected that healing to me. And how he did that was just random moments of just saying, damn, babe, you looking good. Right. But what he didn't necessarily know that meant a lot to me was I was just in the mirror telling myself the same thing. And so my relationship with him had reflected that I had healed that insecurity in not feeling aesthetically good enough. Okay. But on the opposite side, like I said, the relationship can reflect to you what you have healed, and it could also show you what you have not healed. So you want to keep that in mind. All right. Let's get into these tips. Okay. Let's get into these tips. The first tip, if you're going to be dating while knowing that you still have some work to do, the first thing that you have to always be is in self-reflection and self-awareness, right? And that's something that is so beautiful. The only way a relationship is even going to work is if both people in the relationship are always reflecting on themselves and growing their level of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. It is absolutely required. See, a lot of times your relationships in the past may have failed because you were unaware of yourself and what you were actually needing in that partnership. And then the person who you may have been connecting with may have very well been in the same space. So you want to always spend time in self-reflection. One of the ways that you want to self-reflect, whether you have a father wound or a mother wound, one of the ways that you want to reflect is you want to ask yourself the question, what is my relationship to masculine energy or masculinity? And then if you know that you have a mother wound, which many women have and men, you want to ask yourself the question, what is my relationship to femininity and feminine energy? How do I relate to it? So what that means is, let's say you struggle with masculine energy. When you are connecting to a man, what are some patterns that show up consistently? I have a best friend. A best friend. We've been best friends since elementary school. And one of the consistent patterns that always showed up with her whenever she was dating guys was not trusting them. Whether they did something to garner that or not, immediately upon entry in the relationship was mistrust. So that's something that she had to become aware of. Like, oh, I just don't trust men, period. It don't matter who the man is or what he has done. I just don't trust him. And so when she became aware of that, that led her to start asking questions of why. Okay. So in your self-reflection, you want to pay attention to patterns, right? One of the patterns that I had to become aware of was that, in my past in college, I had a pattern of like choosing people that I didn't even really like feel like that. But I had to realize that I was choosing them because they had chose me. Not because they really added value to my life, not because they helped me to grow, but because they chose me. So when I look back on I'm like, okay, I don't really like him like that. He ain't really my type. And I said, that's a pattern. Okay, that's something that I need to pay attention to. And when I did, I was like, oh my God, that was a father wound. And feeling like my father did not choose me. He chose to go and live his fast life, have him some different women and be this single child-free man. And so because I felt that way subconsciously, if a person was choosing, I was like, oh yeah, that's it. I'm with it, whatever. And then as some time passed, I realized, okay, I don't really like this person. We are incompatible and the relationship would end. And so becoming aware of that, when Dream and I got together, I had to really look at him and say, how does he really make me better? Right? What value is he really adding to my life? How is he supporting me in becoming the best version of myself? And when I was able to say, check, 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 I remember vividly the moment where I realized that he was the person that I wanted to have kids with. Like literally, it was a full moment. And I want to say I had this revelation before we actually got pregnant. We were having a good night, right? It was my best friend Victoria's birthday. And whenever it's a friend birthday and you in a relationship, honey, that's always fun because y'all gonna have some drinks, y'all just gonna be loving on each other. It's just gonna be a vibe. So that's what was happening, right? We were having a whole vibe, Dream and I. And we were at his house, and I've told this story, I think, in Womb Alchemy before. We were at his house, he's in the kitchen, he had this little, like his kitchen had a little bar in it. And he's on one side of the bar and I'm on one side of the bar. And I have no clue what he's talking to me about. I cannot remember the words. I just remember how I felt looking at him. And I was just looking at him talking. His locks are hanging down. He all muscular and in shape. Such a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing because your admiration for your partner can change with time. Like Dream ain't working out no more because he's so business oriented, but I still admire parts of him, right? It ain't no more fitness because he ain't going to the gym no more, really, but I admire his mind even more now. I admire his business acumen and his drive and his focus even more now. So that's a whole nother side note, right? But in that moment, I saw a person who had his career going for him. He was disciplined while I'll be wanting to stay up late and have some fun. He's like, I got to go to work tomorrow. I need to go to bed. I got to work with these kids in the morning. I'm not trying to be sleepy. So he was so freaking disciplined. I remember just looking at him and just being like, I want you. Like, I want to be with you. I want to be you. I want to be one with you. I want to have kids with you. And I remember after me having that thought, he came out of the kitchen and we were like slow dancing because, that's when you don't got no kids, okay, you can do all types of stuff. So we in the living room listening to some music, slow dancing. And I was just like, oh my God, this is my person, right? So I vividly remember choosing Dream and really looking at what he was activating inside of me and saying, okay, I'm no longer in a relationship because I have this deficiency. I'm no longer in a relationship because what my father or my mother did or did not do. I am in this relationship because this person is actually so valuable to my growth, to my healing, and to my transformation. So self-reflection and self-awareness gives you that level of power to choose in your relationships. Self-reflection and self-awareness is also so important because let me tell you, If you don't accept your shit, your partner, your husband, you could be married right now. If you don't accept the wounds, the experiences that you've had and how they've shaped you to be who you are, if you don't accept yourself, you'll never connect with somebody who is truly ready to accept you for who you are. So self-reflection and self-awareness is so that you can look at those things that make you you and make peace with it. Because now you can show up in a relationship or in your dating life with a certain level of peace and no inner conflict. You know how many women be fighting themselves in their relationships because they have not made peace with what their father did or did not do? This does not mean that it has to be completely healed, right? But at least you accept that it's there. Okay, acceptance is important. Tip number 2, so real. Okay, tip number 2, for those of you who are dating, you out there trying to figure it out. And hey to all the family that's coming in here. I'm glad to see y'all. Tip number 2 is you have to set realistic expectations. Somebody write that in the chat. Set realistic expectations. Okay? You cannot meet a guy or a girl and y'all are dating and your delusion is so thick, you like, oh, this is it. This is my person. I know so many women who meet a guy, they have a good time or whatever, and like immediately she's already fantasizing about how this is her husband, not realizing that she's doing that because that's from a father wound or a mother wound, right? She's automatically like, ooh, this gotta be the one. And says he ain't even the one. So we can be like delusional like that. And y'all have seen it. Y'all have seen it to where somebody is just so delusional. They really think that this person is their person, but that is just coming from that wound of just needing that void to be filled. Okay. But when you set realistic expectations, there's a pace to the relationship, right? There's a pace that is healthy for you. When you go into situations with unrealistic expectations, whether they are expectations of the shortcomings that will manifest in the relationship or the greatness that will manifest in the relationship, you tend to speed up the natural unfoldment of the connection. So when you're already expecting this person is your husband, this person is your wife, you may jump into a sexual relationship with them too soon. That has happened. Where you're like, oh no, like this person, they got to be the one. And so you start giving them all of this husband or all of this wifey treatment before they've actually deserved that because your expectations are off. On the opposite side of that, you have to look for how you may over expect negative in your connections. Oh, he can't be trustworthy. Oh, she can't be loyal. Oh, this can't possibly work out. And so what do? Instead of relationship unfolding naturally, you start to self-sabotage, right? So you will unconsciously, right? Or some of you consciously, unconsciously or consciously do something to try to test the person's loyalty, to try to test if this person is really feeling you, if they're really committed to you. Okay? And now you throw a situation or circumstance into the equation that may be, irreparable. Okay? So you want to set realistic expectations. What does that mean? First, that means you already have a level of love and security within yourself that you don't have to rush a connection. Right? You understand that first of all, women, we really have to understand this because your bonding compound, if you haven't been stretched thin in your sexual relationships, your bonding compound works faster than a man's. So you're going to start to have feelings quicker than him. That's something that you could expect, unless you have primed yourself to have this wall up, right? But if you are going into a situation open, you're ready and you're willing, understand you're going to start to catch feelings sooner most of the time. Now, you do have those exceptions to the rule where you have a man that has a mother wound. Oh my God. Men with mother wounds, honey, two things will happen. Either they are going to be emotionally unavailable for forever. Like you've been talking to this person for a year and they've still not expressed any vulnerability. And hell, I know situations where a person will be in a relationship. I know somebody right now. They've been together for maybe 7 years right now. And the guy he doesn't know how to express his feelings. He doesn't know how to express how he feels, right? Everything is very cut and dry. And this same person, because he has mother wounds, right? Because he has mother wounds, he doesn't know how to connect to his internal world, his emotional world. He's very mental, very logical. And so when his woman is coming to him and she's saying, I feel like this. This is what I need from you. My heart is doing this. He don't understand that. He don't understand that. He does not know how to give her what she needs emotionally because he doesn't know how to give himself what he needs emotionally because he was abandoned by his mother. Okay? So a man who has mother wounds, two things will happen. Either he's going to fall in love quick. Oh my God, sis, run. Okay? He'll start telling you after a week or two of knowing you, he'll be like, man, you my wife, you my this, you my that. Now, don't get it twisted. A man can see you for the first time and something energetically will speak to him and says, this is your person. Just because the soul, the energy, the spirit, it speaks before you even exchange words. That does happen. But a man that has emotional maturity is not going to overexpress that. Matter of fact, he's not going to express that at all. He's going to let it play out. He's going to let it play out. Okay? So, but those men who have those mother wounds, maybe something happened to their mother young, or maybe their mother never really expressed to them that love. Right when they connect with a woman who says, I like you, you cool, you got a great personality, or I like, right when that woman starts to compliment that man, he's in love. He's like, I've had this experience happen before and it was scary. I was like, this is dangerous. Okay, this person saying they in love and they feel like I'm their wife and they only been knowing me. We've only been talking for 30 days. Child, run. Because that is not natural to a man. Period. Okay. Now, I have had this experience with Dream, and this came out years later. Years later. Dream, me, my younger brother, and his girlfriend at the time. We're in the car. We're traveling somewhere. I don't know where we're going. Maybe to see my grandparents. But we're in the car driving, and we're just talking about our relationships, how they manifested, how they got started. And Dream says to me, this was so crazy. And I gotta spend time thinking about it even now. But we're in the car talking. He was like, the first time I saw you, I knew that you were going to have my kids. And I said, what? You've never told me that before. Mind you, at this point, we already got a kid. We already had a son at this point, right? We already had KJ. And so when he said that, I was taken back like, wow, you've never said that to me. This is, you know, let me tell you how deep this is. See, Dream Wise is very good, right? Very good. Because this is, I would say, 6 years of us knowing each other. 6 years of us knowing each other. I met Dream when I was 18 years old. We had our first kid, I want to say, let me see, when I was 24, right? So for 6 years or so, he's kept that to himself. For 4 years, we remained friends, strictly platonic, did not do anything that would say, okay, this is the relationship, we're going somewhere with this, right? We were literally just friends. But he had that thought. And he told me that years later. And I was just like, wow. And it gets even deeper because we still have conversations surrounding us coming together as and birthing these children, right? Because it's deeper than him and I, like on the love tip, right? Like that's great, right? But there's a reason why we had to have these 4 children, a very divine and sacred reason. And it's still unfolding. Like I'm telling y'all, like there's some biblical stuff unfolding surrounding us and our kids. But a man that has emotional maturity, honey, he may know that, he may feel like you are the one, but he is not going to disclose that to you prematurely because he knows and understands that that may change your behavior. Okay? You may start trying to be the wife too soon, which could be manipulative, and that's a whole nother story. So you got to set realistic expectations. Let's keep going. All right? Number 3, if you're going to be dating and you know you still got some healing to do, which we all do, right? What I'm saying to you right now is not just about a mother wound or a father wound. This is about healing in general. And this also could be used. So I may change the title of this. Because this also could be used in your friendship relationships. This could be used, obviously, when you're trying to connect with a partner. But this goes for any relationship. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you. Communication rules the nation. That's number 3. Communication rules the nation. You got to be able to communicate. And that's one of the major things that I think is important prior to getting into a serious relationship is that you need to be able to express your vulnerabilities. Oh my God. Listen, if you cannot talk intimately with the person who is a potential mate for you, you might as well, wrap it up. Don't even allow yourself to become so emotionally consumed and attached to a person who you can't talk to. It will not end well. It won't end well. Okay? I got my family members, my brother, my younger brother. I want to say this is probably 2 years ago now. Yeah, we were pregnant with Kimmy. And me and his wife had a falling out that was deep, that was intense, and it changed everything for me in my relationship with her. We have not went back to a space of me just being like sisterly, like literally it's cordial. Hey, hi, we around each other, it's cordial, right? But one of the big things, right? Because it was big. Like we exchanged words, right? If we was in person, we was probably gonna throw them bows, okay? Just being real with y'all. Well, we couldn't throw bows because when this happened, I was pregnant. So we wouldn't been throwing bows, but the words were exchanged, okay? The words were exchanged. Sis was sending me text, girl, the text messages she was sending me was so damn long. I'm like, listen, I was responding to her like, sis, I don't even got time to read this. If you want to talk to me, come talk to me in person. You want to talk to me, you can pick up the phone. Don't send me no long ass text message that I'm not reading. So anyways, very extreme falling out. It was hard on my brother and I because this is his wife. But we get on the phone and my brother cried on the phone to me, y'all, when he was just like, I'm so sorry, D. I don't know how this has gotten to this point. I don't know how we are here. But he just broke down crying. And he was like, I can't even talk to my wife the way that I talk to you. And that was one of the things that caused some issues within their relationship, or a little bit of jealousy and envy that she had towards me. But the thing is that, sis, you can't compare yourself to me. This is my brother. We've been through everything together, abandonment together, abuse together. So vulnerability is easy for us. He can come and talk to me about anything because we've been through so much. And so a part of the issue in their courtship was when they were courting and dating and getting to know each other, they did not know how to be vulnerable. They did not have the conversations about the abuse we experienced as a child. I still to this day don't think she knows the level of trauma we experienced and how we came out so resilient. If she knew, if he was able to tell her the level of pain we experienced, she would have such a deep respect and love for him. She would be like, you went through all of that and you still got a good head on your shoulders. You're still faithful. You're still loving. You're still kind and compassionate. What? But because they didn't get that, she didn't understand who he really is, right? And so that's majorly important. If you cannot express your vulnerabilities, you should not be thinking that you're going to go the long haul with this person that you're dating, okay? The reason why this is important is because when you are vulnerable and open, you give the person you're dating the opportunity to choose if they want to be there, if they are ready and willing to deal with what you got going on. Okay. And I will tell you the levels, the depth to the relationship will get deeper. The level of vulnerability gets deeper the longer you've been together. So yes, that's it's a real thing. I'm not saying you got to come out and show them all your war wounds. You don't got to show them every scar you got. But those things that are important that would give them the understanding of who you are, right? That's going to help them to say, okay, is this a woman that I can be with? Is this a man that I can be with? Let me answer this question. Shakila says, but why do you think he may have been at a space where he can't express that? Well, I would say I felt my brother still had some healing to do in terms of how we were raised and what we experienced with our father. He still has some healing. And so because he hadn't, let me turn this camera a little bit. Because he hadn't made peace with our childhood experiences, he couldn't really talk about it, right? And so it's hard when you don't really have the conversation with yourself first. It's hard to have that conversation with others. And so I truly feel that he had some layers of shame surrounding what we experienced. I truly feel that he didn't recognize the extent of our trauma and how that impacted him. And so when you don't sit with that, when you don't understand that, it's hard to communicate that. But also at the same time, if the person you're talking to doesn't create a safe space for that, and you know, when you first get into a relationship with somebody, you know if they're going to create a safe space or not. Okay? By how they respond to you. You already know. You may say something just off the wall. If they look at you like, you crazy. You know if a person is ready and willing to be receptive to what you have to say based off how they respond to things that don't matter. Let's say you go out to eat. Y'all are out eating because that's what you do when you're courting. You go out to eat. And let's say you pick something that may be different. Maybe you vegan and they not. You pick a vegan meal. If they like, that's what you eating? Nah, I don't like that. I don't think that's going to be good. Why you choose that? You already know, just in a simple example like that, that person may not be a safe space to express what you have going on, because they may very well be judgmental. And his wife definitely has that energy. Okay. And so you can feel that off the jump, you can feel that. And I think one of the gifts of Dream and I is that we were friends for 4 years prior to, but we had real conversations. The funny thing though is that my brother and his wife, they were close friends prior to getting together. Not close friends. They were friends before they made the commitment, but she had already had in her mind that he was her husband. That's the difference. When you come into these dating situations and circumstances, you cannot go into it with unrealistic expectations. See, she had already made up in her mind that he was going to be the one. She liked the way he looked. She liked his humor, all of those things like that. She had already made that up in her mind. And so because she made that up in her mind, she didn't have to get to know who he really is. Matter of fact, she didn't want to get to know who he really is, because if you know who he really is, now you got to choose. And that's why communication is important, because you want to decide who you are choosing to do life with. You don't want it to just be what's the right word? Like, oh, I guess I'm forced to be here because of the situation or because of the circumstances. You want to make the decision to say, this is who I want to be with. I am choosing you, even though I know all of the things that you've been through. But a lot of times, the reason why people don't want to have intimate conversations is because they don't want their illusions and their delusions to be made real, right? So because you got this fantasy in your mind, this is what we're talking about when we say don't date potential. There's potential there. There's potential. Yeah, girl, he got potential. Okay. I see what he can be. Right? Instead of looking at who he is today. That's the illusion. Dating potential is delusional, and you're doing it for the illusion of it all. Because if you look at who a person really is, now you're forced to decide. And when you're forced to decide based off of what's really showing up, when shit hits the fan, now you got to take responsibility. And people don't want to take responsibility. So that's why I'm talking to y'all. That's why I'm telling y'all here right now. Go ahead and have the intimate conversations. You don't got to show them all your war wounds, child. You don't. But just drop little nuggets in there and see how they respond. Do they hold a safe space? You know? Such a very beautiful, it's such a beautiful thing. And let me also say this, communication is not just one way. Some of y'all are like, la, 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 la. Some of y'all don't want to hear what the person you're dating actually has to say. You don't want to hear their shit, right? You ain't really listening. So you want to start listening for truth instead of listening through your ears of trauma. Because see, trauma will have you thinking that everything this person is saying is good, is well, is right, right? When you've had that wound of abandonment and rejection and you looking for love and you like, oh my God, I need love. You will miss out on some shit that they saying because you done casted a spell over their words, right? You've casted an energy over their words where you're not even hearing clearly. I got a good friend who I love. We're actually going out to dinner this weekend. I'm so excited. It's gonna be my first girls' night out with my kid, since we've had Kai. But I got a good girlfriend who was just recently dating this guy. And she was telling me all these things that he was saying, and she was not finding a problem in it. And I'm listening to it, and I'm totally detached, right? I met the brother one time. Don't really know him like that. Have no emotional connection to him or even to their relationship. So when she's talking to me, I'm listening for truth. I'm listening to what's happening underneath the words. So she says to me, he tells her, oh my God. Okay, so my one of our other good friends was going on a vacation for her birthday in Jamaica. Now, these two friends, they always vacation together, right? And if I didn't have my tribe, I would have been going on these vacations too, right? So they always go on these vacations together because that's a ritual, that's a tradition that they've been doing, right? My homegirl, gets into this relationship with this guy, and he tells her, yeah, I don't want you to go on no vacation with your homegirls no more. This should have been a red flag to my friend, but it wasn't. I don't want you to go on a vacation with your friends no more. Matter of fact, because I want to go with you. They were planning a trip to Jamaica. He tells her, I don't want you to go to Jamaica with your friends because I want that to be our first vacation together. I want that to be what me and you do together, going to Jamaica. Now, mind you, this man ain't Jamaican. He is not Jamaican. His family not from there. So why are you trying to manipulate her out of doing what she's been doing, with her very best friend, our very best friend, for the last few years? And y'all ain't married. Y'all ain't in no committed relationship. Why are you trying to bamboozle her? And he did. And so when me and my homegirl talked about this, in her mind, she was thinking, oh girl, he just want to do something. He want to save Jamaica for me and him. Because he just want to do something special just for me and him. Girl, y'all ain't even went somewhere in Texas together. How y'all thinking y'all gonna get to Jamaica together? What he was doing was controlling and manipulating her. But because she has father wounds, she saw that as sweet. She saw that as cute. She saw that as, oh, he just want to do something special with me. She was delusional. And months later, now, just found this out like a few weeks ago, she realized that he's been bullshitting the whole time. Right? He got all of these other women. Man, this man's so dirty. This guy is so dirty. So I got my two close friends who they've been going on vacations together since we graduated from college. They've been going on vacations together for 10 years now. We used to go together, right? We done been multiple places together, right? Turns out this guy had DM'd one of our how do I speak? I wish I could say their names, but I'm trying to, I don't want to say their names. But my two close girlfriends, one of them has a sister. This guy DM'd her sister. So he's dating my homegirl because they done all been out together and my other homegirl's sister had been out. He hops in her DM. Hey, you looking good, da 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 da. And does it from like an inconspicuous page that don't got his pictures on it. And the way my friend found out, this is kind of juicy. She just found out on New Year's. The way she found out is because he was drunk, left his phone open. She has some suspicions. She goes to his phone, goes to Instagram, looks through his DMs. He done DM'd our best friend's little sister. So yeah, she missed all the red flags. But that's what a father wound or a mother wound will do. When you have these wounds, you have this veil over your eyes. You have this veil over your ears. You have this veil to where you can't hear truth. You're really listening and looking from the lens of trauma and wanting to be fulfilled in whatever way. Okay? So fortunately, all of that happened on New Year's Eve. And now she's completely done with him because the illusion, the veil, been ripped from over her eyes. Like, you can't deny this. You can't make this up, right? And he has just done so much other stuff. I don't even got time to keep talking about this guy because he's so disgusting. So ladies, understand that communication is two ways. Brothers, communication is two ways. You have to listen for truth. Okay? Which, a side note that I want to add into this, when you are dating and connecting, you want to make sure that you have a healthy support system. See, the reason why my friend can talk to me about what she got going on is because she's seen Dream and I have a healthy relationship for all of these years. She's seen us continue to grow, heal, transformed. They see our beautiful children, like literally our children are happy and peaceful. As my sis Vash would say, you will know the root by the fruit. And so the fruit that Dream and I have created, our children, our household, our business, are all very beautiful and powerful. And so when she comes and talks to me, she knows that I'm going to keep it real because I'm coming from a place of detachment from her reality and just understanding what it is. Okay. So you want to make sure you have a healthy support system around you who you can communicate with and bounce ideas off of, because sometimes you can be so caught up in your trauma that you don't see what's really obviously in front of you. Right. But also at the same time, you don't see the things you need to work on. Like I got another homegirl that's beautiful, right? She's beautiful. She's ready for love, but she used to be very closed off. And we were just having a conversation about 2 or 3 days ago where I told her, I said, sis, you've grown a lot because you used to not be expressive. You couldn't communicate, not even to me. And we've been friends for 10 years. So how do you expect to get in a relationship where you can't be honest, where you can't be open, you can't be vulnerable? It's not going to work. And so you need friends to tell you the ways in which you need to grow, but also to tell you when you're not seeing things the way you should be because you've been conditioned by that trauma. All right. Tip number 4. And we're almost done with these tips. I want to get these things out to you. Tip number 4 is that you have to establish boundaries early. You got to establish boundaries real early. Otherwise, you're not creating a safe and secure place for yourself. So because I had an abandonment wound, I've told this story before for some of y'all, but Valentine's Day comes. Mind you, Dreamwise is courting me. Okay? Meaning we going out on dates. We trying to see. We kind of know we want to be together at this point just because how we rocking, right? He's courting me. We're going out. Been going out for a while. Valentine's Day come around, right? And not only that, mind you, we've been knowing each other for 4 years prior to this, right? We've been knowing each other for years. Valentine's Day comes around and I don't hear from him the whole day. Mind you, at this time, there were other people who were checking for D-Ray, who was like, I got a rose for you. I'm trying to, whatever. And the guy I'm checking for, the guy I'm into, he ain't checking. What are you doing on this day, right? Mind you, though, we hadn't really had a conversation about what our expectations or our desires are surrounding these holidays. Valentine's Day come around, I don't hear from him until later in the day. I'm pissed. I'm mad, right? This is why boundaries and communication is important. Because I should have talked to him about this, but I thought we kind of talked about it a little bit, but clearly he had his own ideas, right? Clearly he wanted, and he thought what he was thinking or how he perceived it, he thought that was the way to go. So don't hear from him all day. He hits me up. He's like, yeah, what you doing? Y'all, I'm looking at my phone like, are you seriously calling me saying, yeah, what I'm doing, and I ain't heard from you all day? Absolutely inappropriate. He hates when I tell this story. He's like, why do you always tell that story? It's so old, but it's relevant. And I will tell y'all, after that Valentine's Day, every Valentine's Day or the day before, the day after, he bringing something. He like, I don't care if it's a bear, a chocolate, a gift card, out to eat, whatever, but he doing it after that one. So he hits me up after the fact talking about what you doing. And I'm like, I'm chilling. I ain't whatever. I'm whatever, because I'm triggered. I needed to communicate to Dream Wise that I was still conditioned with the idea of Valentine's Day expressing is a means of expressing your love, right? I needed to express that to him because otherwise he would have been able to say, okay, I can do something about that or I can't. But I didn't feel safe at that moment. I didn't feel safe to, really be committed and in a relationship with him because I didn't set the boundary of what I needed based off of my wounds, based off of the abandonment wounds I had from my father. You got to prove your love to me in multiple ways. Honey, I need all the love languages. I need quality time. I need physical touch. I need gifts. I need affirmations. I need the work. I need it all, right? And I desire it all. And I'm willing to give it all as well. But I didn't express that boundary with him. And I know y'all are like, boundary, but yes, when he didn't show up on that day, that made me feel some type of way. I questioned our connection. I questioned if he was really feeling me like I was feeling him, because I didn't want no flowers, no roses, no nothing from nobody else but him. So I needed to communicate that. And if I would have communicated that, I would have created a safe space for him to say, I can do that or I can't do that. And then from that, I can make the decisions that I need to make. So in establishing boundaries early, family, you have to know what it is you need. What is it that you need? What is it that you desire? All right. The last thing that I want y'all to know, the last two things that go together, then I got to get off of here. You need to know your triggers and you need to practice compassion. If you don't know your triggers, you are easily moved by everything happening outside of you. And it's very difficult to be in a relationship with a person like that because you have no control. You have no self-control. When you know your triggers, you can say, okay, I'm triggered. How do I want to respond? Now you can be the healthy individual. Yes, you're still on your healing journey, but you're healthy because though you're triggered, you can choose, how do I express what I'm feeling right now in a healthy way without being negative, without being demeaning, without tearing this person down? How do I make peace with how my past has impacted me? And how do I do it in a way? And how do I have such a level of awareness that when this person triggers me, because they will, when this person triggers me, because they will, how do I want to respond? And so you get to communicate that, Dream Wise not showing up, that was a trigger for me. That did something to me. And we had a great conversation. I will tell y'all, the very next day, the day after Valentine's Day, he treated me royally. We went and got pedicures and manicures, went out to eat, had a beautiful experience. But I needed to know that him not showing up on that day was going to trigger me, right? Because if I would have known that, I could have expressed that or even just managed my energy better when we did have the conversation. So knowing your triggers is going to help you to be a more compatible potential partner, because you're not just flying off the radar when you're triggered. You're recognizing, oh, something is showing up inside of me. How do I want to respond? And then having compassion for yourself is about knowing that it's a process. You're not going to, you're not just going to be completely done with it. It's going to show up in your relationship. But when you have your compassion for yourself, you can show the other person how to have compassion for you. But not only that, you can have compassion for them. I'm going to show this video from Dr. Umar just to get y'all's feedback. I want to see how y'all feel about this.
Let me say this again.
Let me see. And then I hear Kai down there. Dream is like, you got to come out.
Emotionally damaged people. Let me say this again. If you are traumatized, if you are emotionally damaged, you are promiscuous. And do you want to know why?
Why is that?
Emotionally traumatized people require constant validation from others. You married to a woman who's been traumatized, abuse, abandonment, whatever. When you're not around her for too many days, she has to entertain another man.
All right. I'm going to stop that right there. If you know your triggers, you can better respond and you're a better partner. All right. I love y'all. Peace, family. We'll talk soon. Y'all let me know in the comments which one of these tips is going to best serve you moving forward. Peace.